Allow me now to bring up the panel, excuse me, that will be debating the question of how will low cost adapt to an era of slower growth. Joining us on the panel is the Chief Executive of Air Baltic, Bertolt Flick. Where are you? Come and join us and take a seat. Alex Cruz of Vueling. Where are you? Chief Executive of Vueling. You all know these people. They don't need long introductions from myself. Daniel Skjeldam, the Chief Commercial Officer from Norwegian Air Shuttle. Norwegian, come up and join us. I feel like I'm doing the Price is Right. Except I think that's come on down. Thomas Winkelmann from Germanwings, come on down. Chief Executive, yes, there we are, seat over there. We'll have questions from yourselves, so please sharpen your pencils. Right, look, let's start. There's no easy way of doing this. Let's start with the elephants in the living room, which some of you may be familiar with the phrase, is the subject that none of them want to really talk about. Caroline McCall, let's start with you at EasyJet and the relationship of Stelios, the board, and how you're going to handle that problem.
Okay. Let's get a mic for that. Is that on? Can you hear me? Yeah. I think any company which has a large investor has always going to go, it's never going to be as straightforward as having a load of institutional investors. I think in our case, our largest investor is also the founder, which I think makes it more complicated. I've always had a very constructive relationship with Stelios, as has my chairman. And I think what we've been trying to do is deal with the issues that our large shareholder has, which have been very public for a very long time. It's actually about 6 years old, a lot of this. We've been trying to deal with that privately, and I intend to keep that way.
Private. Bertolt, Air Baltic. Firstly, do you expect to be sitting here this time next year?
That largely depends if you invite me.
Well, if we invite you, will we be inviting you as the Chief Executive of Air Baltic? Your Prime Minister wants you out.
Well, I will definitely not be Chief Executive of Air Baltic next year.
Right.
But if you invite me, I'll come.
All right, a serious point. How serious is this dispute between your airline and the government?
Well, actually, it is quite a serious dispute, and it's a long-standing and serious dispute. You see, the government took a very negative stand, or actually this government, this political party took a very negative stand towards Air Baltic from the point on when SAS left the company. And it started with accusations that behind me actually there is a pool of oligarchs that are running the company in reality and that they have to be fought. Which is honestly something I cannot prove that they're not, because something that doesn't exist you cannot prove. You can prove the existence of something but not the non-existence. So it continued with the fact that we had a discount scheme in Riga Airport. 2 airlines qualified for, Ryanair and us. We also had an agreement with Riga Airport. The discount scheme was abandoned. Let me take just 2 minutes.
All right. If it's been going that long, we haven't got that long.
The agreement with Ryanair is fulfilled, the agreement with us not. A few months later, the airport raised the charges to us by 70%. And we have 3 new tariff projects coming up this year alone, which are mainly designed towards Air Baltic. You see, we are the only transfer carrier in Riga Airport. So what are the new 3 tariff projects we have? Transfer luggage, security for transfer passengers, and one of the most ingenious things I've ever heard, since we are the largest carrier with 70% of the traffic, off-peak discounts for airlines that fly off-peak. Since we create the peaks, we have absolutely no chance to fly off-peak. And that is just a part of the whole story. Yes, this is a very serious dispute. I've had to suffer intimidation, threats, blackmail, and whatever. If I was not an owner of the company, I would have left a long time ago. I will definitely leave, and it's depending on an agreement with the government how we go forward with the company.
Right. Alex Cruz, your elephant in the living room is sitting on the Bath Road. Who makes the decision for Vueling, you or Willie Walsh?
What did Carolyn say? She said, when you have a large institutional investor at the company, you need to have a constructive relationship, et cetera, et cetera. Of course, we make the decisions. So Barcelona-based airline with an extensive network and growing across Europe, we feel that we are managing our own destinies.
All right, same question to you, Thomas. German Wings, fully owned by Lufthansa. Why don't they just call it Lufthansa and be done with it?
Yeah, or German Hansa or something.
German Hansa, yes.
That's a good idea for the marketing people.
Same thing, who's making the decisions?
We are talking about the shareholders here all the time, and Stelios or the government, we are the happiest in the room because we are owned by the public. Lufthansa doesn't have a majority shareholder of any kind, so we are responsible, and all the companies in the group, if it is Austrian or Swiss or German Wings.
I think this comes under the rubric of spin.
No, but I think in reality, Lufthansa has been successful because the subsidiaries are running their own business. We have our cost advantage when it comes to the group, that is airline purchasing, fuel hedging, financing. That is something that is a great advantage also to a low-cost carrier. But for instance, when it comes to airport deals or catering deals or everything else, we are completely independent.
And
Quite
where
the
to
opposite.
fly? Are you independent?
We are absolutely free to fly wherever we want, but we have to make money. And that is a challenge for all of us because we have 6,000 routes in Europe now, average served by 1.7 airlines. And maybe we come to that later. That is something where slower growth is a matter of life.
Daniel from Norwegian. I mean, you don't really have too many elephants in the room, but you do have a competitor, a principal competitor, SAS, that is of 3 countries, that is undergoing its own reorganization. How concerned are you that your competitor is about to become much stronger?
Well, we've been living with them now for almost 10 years. They're a good competitor in the way that they offer a good product.
Nothing like damning with faint praise.
But of course, their cost level is not even up to our standards. They've been twice as expensive as us. With our cost reductions, they'll still be twice as expensive as us. So, of course, they're a good competitor, but we believe cost is king. And we also have added quite a lot of value elements to our product over the last years, which gives us a product which is way closer to them, and which is what we believe the customer needs, or wants, to say that way.
Right, that's the elephant's gone. Let's get to the meat and veg, to mix my metaphors. The change and the shift in the model. Each of you, in your individual ways, are shifting your airline's model to reflect higher yields, more business passengers, and the change in environment. In doing so, Carolyn McCall, are you in serious danger of destroying the traditional model?
You mean the low-cost traditional model?
Yes.
Yeah. No, I don't think so. I think first, remember that we made no effort whatsoever to get the business traveller. They came to us because they wanted the low fares and the service. So what we are now doing is augmenting that, and we're having to take some key actions in order to escalate what we do from 18% to higher. So, no, I don't, for us, the absolute cornerstone of the low-cost model is low cost, is to be low cost. And as you said, very, very difficult for anyone else to emulate that when you don't start as low cost.
But if you start meeting in the middle, Thomas, if you start meeting in the middle to the legacy traditionals, your costs go up, and yes, their costs come down.
Okay, low cost is something that everybody is looking for, and also the British Airways of the world are not sleeping. But give you an example. Free seating was one of the mantras of low costing. Free seating means in the UK that people queue and board. In Germany, and you don't have to go to the Baltics or somebody else, in Germany, people push and shift, and old people it is horrible. Nobody wants that. So what you do, you shift and you charge for a reserved seat. So you are not adding complexity, you are adding revenue. Big.
Okay, let me just interrupt there. You have 3 prices, basic, best, and flex.
Exactly.
You then also start selling seats, not just his emergency exit seats. You're selling some better seats at the front.
Exactly. We have the highest seat pitch in all of Europe.
But that's a
32 inch.
business class
No.
by any
Yeah,
other
That's
name.
a good example. The only thing missing is the curtain, because the curtain is stupid. It's a wonderful thing, but if you have the best price at Germanwings, you have a reserved seat wherever you want to sit. I'm 6'2", so 32 inches, much nicer than 29 seats, but I don't give you the seat for free. The legacies, you can't even reserve a seat on short-haul flight.
All right.
You check in, and if you're unlucky, you are the last one. You have the highest price, you sit in the middle. That's not good.
Daniel,
But I think this debate is a European debate. Because
Well, we're Europeans.
in Europe, we have the low-cost evolution has been driven, or revolution has been driven by the basic business models of EasyJet 10 years ago and Ryanair with the ultra-low-cost approach. And if you look at other continents, Southwest Airlines, the grandfather of all, they've had connecting flights for 25, 30 years. And if you do that in Europe, you're met with, are you disappearing from your original approach? No, we're not. We're following new business opportunities, but keeping a very, very close eye on costs.
all right, but
Yesterday, I explained to the audience how the LCC Bible was written by Herb in Southwest.
absolutely.
And then it was adopted by some crazy Irishmen and henceforth. But we feel at Welling that we've been breaking all the commandments. And yesterday I went through each and every commandment and how we've been breaking them. And yet, we've proven that it can be done with a very low cost base. This is about hard work. This is about persistence. This is about figuring out how you can do something for no cost or a very, very low cost.
You are connecting left, right, and centre, aren't you?
Left and right.
Well, through wherever you can, you're connecting.
Yes.
That adds some costs to your cost base.
The key question when you think about cost is, are we defining our network to be a connecting network? The answer is no. Our network is defined as a point-to-point network, and there where we have a lot of volume of flights, it makes all sense to connect.
You're starting to promote your connecting flights, Alex. Look at the website. You click on it, and an entire array of connecting flight comes up.
It makes sense. It makes total sense. That's another commandment which we've broken.
But it depends if it's costing them money or whether it's keeping things simple. I think the key to this is if we can evolve the model and keep it simple and not layer in cost, then actually all we're doing is evolving a very successful model to a more successful one. So as long as we can deliver our ROCE targets to the market, and as long as we deliver the passenger experience, so it's what passengers want to buy. So this nonsense about, front row being a business class, that's rubbish. I mean, the fact is, if you're going on leisure and you're 6 foot tall, you'll pay for it.
It would be rubbish if all of you didn't come into this industry or your airlines screaming about the importance of low cost, keeping the cost base down, and how the legacies were offering things that were raising the cost base, and you were doing things differently. And now you're starting to do things that seemingly look very similar. And look, this has energized them, hasn't it? Do you want to?
Yeah, but connecting flights, you have to understand the basics, like Alex is saying. We're connecting flights, but we're not setting up a hub and spoke structure which reduces utilization. That's the difference. If you set up a hub and spoke structure, you'll reduce utilization of the fleet and increase costs. But if you just send customers that's already there between flights, it makes total sense. And in Norwegian, we actually pay we actually make the customer pay for it.
But
it's fare A plus fare B plus a small fee, which cover our missed connection costs.
I think it would be stupid to stand still. We constantly learn about our customers. Our customers are evolving. And of course, it's not just about cost. Connecting customers, passengers, actually bring also in revenue. Business class sounds stupid actually in the traditional sense when you call it business class. But what we've seen is that people that go on holiday, who drive a car for 150,000 euros and stay in 5-star hotels, they're willing to spend more if they have more legroom. What is done in Germanwings, we do the extreme in Air Baltic. You buy the reservation of the seat. We have an assigned seat, and you still pay for the reservation because they want to have that specific seat. They want to have also the middle seat because
Right.
they want to sit next to their spouse, and so on and so on.
The duo.
So
Which one of you does the duo seat? One of you,
We do.
You do the duo seat. Again, charging extra for basically having an empty seat next
Look,
to you.
it's a fact of life. Call the business passengers or leisure passengers that can afford it. We're going after this traffic. It's higher yielding, and we can do it without increasing our costs.
So just 2 points. One is that we don't connect. So we don't interline, we don't connect, right? However, on Virgin's website, on Emirates' website, they connect for us. So we have a lot of people putting EasyJet up on their websites with connections, right? So that's the trend in the industry, which is to try and get as much connection as possible.
Would you connect?
Well, not at the moment. We will not do anything that adds complexity to what we do. This is to your point, which is we're a point-to-point carrier. We're simple. We use our planes a lot. We have the highest utilization in the industry. We intend to keep that. We will look at things that will add value, but we won't look at things that add operational complexity, because that is a slippery slope.
Talking, yeah, go ahead.
Couldn't agree more.
Oh, good. Anything else?
No, I think it's about empowerment of the customer, what we're talking about. The traditional model where airlines came from was dividing by first class, business, economy class, and that was it. And inside economy class, you had a huge variance, what costed a lot of money, 27 different meal types between Hyderabad and Buffalo. That has changed on the low cost and on the short haul, but the customer wants to have a choice. If you are on business and you fly to Moscow, the first row is a 25, 30 minutes advantage in customs. So if you pay for it, you will be there, but not 500 euros for so-called business class. It's 20 euros for the seat in the front. And the customer knows it, by the way.
Although I have to say, I did a comparison on all your websites, that those of you that offer flexi fares. Your flexi fare is a sizable increase over the core base fare, isn't it?
It's called
I
value.
mean, sorry?
Value.
Well, that's your word. It is a good, sometimes 150% above in some cases. I can 50 to 100% above.
I mean, it depends on the route, it depends on the time, it depends on how many passengers we're going to get on that. We yield manage our flexi fare.
Right.
So it's not a standard fare. You have to decide. I mean, if it's not as strong a route, it will not be as expensive. The key thing is the gap between our flexi fare and everybody else's. We will always be lower. That's value.
All right, so yes?
Yeah, it's the point to the profitability of these models is important, because it's a lot of analysis made by professors around the world which analyzes different companies in different industries. And the high-low approach is actually one of the most profitable models in the world in different industries, where you have a high value and a low cost. And if you look at even Singapore Airlines, they're doing the same approach. They have a low cost base, but they have a high, well, they have a luxury product. It's a high value product, but we're doing the same thing in a different area of the industry. So low cost, high value, it's what we believe gives the highest profitability.
Yeah, Richard, you travel a lot around the world. I mean, basically what we're telling you is that the percentage of miles you're going to fly in airlines such as ourselves is going to increase significantly year over year.
It already does. I mean, you make it sound like I only travel at first class on a legacy carrier. There is a myth that's going out here. Shall we take a question from our audience? Put your hand up if you've got a question. At the back. And
Hello. Yeah, hey, it's Seth Kaplan from Airline Weekly. I just wanted to ask Bertolt, if I could. Aside from all the sensational question about the oligarchs, real or imaginary and all that, I'm just curious if you could explain a little bit more about what happened to the airlines' profitability. It's only interesting because you were one of the more successful airlines in Europe as recently as 2009, and then I know that 2010 was quite difficult. So what deteriorated?
To whom was the question?
to Bertolt, what deteriorated in your profitability?
I'm sorry, yeah, for Air Baltic.
Well, I mean, 2010 was a very special year, because we had ordered 8 aircraft Dash Q400, which were scheduled to come into service in April, and they arrived starting from November. So we were basically left with without a third of our fleet for almost the entire season. This was definitely one of the problems. The other problem I outlined was the development in Riga Airport. We currently have an off-balance sheet claim against Riga Airport which exceeds already 40 million euros, because we do not think that we have to pay 4 times as much as Ryanair in Riga. And since we have also a contract which clearly specifies that we have to pay the same.
As I look at all your fleets, with the exception of yourself, Caroline, as I look at all your fleets, you're all, give or take, within, you're slightly larger at 60 aircraft with more aircraft coming on, but you're all pretty much of a muchness in fleet size. Do you have to grow, and do you have to grow fast to try and compete in this expanding market? Germanwings.
I think that there has been a lot of carriers in the world that grew too fast and went bankrupt. And I've never seen a carrier that was growing too slow and went bankrupt. The growth size is shrinking for sure. We will see in the next 2 or 3 years, due to the taxes implemented in various countries, due to oil prices, a lower stimulated demand. That was possible 3 years ago, 4 years ago. You could have, with a 29 euro passenger, some bottom line contribution. That is in most cases over. You have to have much higher fares just to cover your direct operating cost. Example, it is 19 euros now, the tax in Germany to fly back and forth domestically. 19 euros something. Right. Therefore, slower growth right now is important.
Slower growth
slower growth, and even cut routes where you see they are too seasonal, they are just making money in July and August, and you burn your balance sheet in the winter. So we have to adapt to winter demand in an ideal case and not to the summer peaks.
All right, but then Norwegian, you are not only growing, you are going into long haul as well. Is that because your market in your areas allows you to do that more successfully than, say, if Alex decided to suddenly he wanted to, although I could hear the squeals, I suspect, run a long-haul route?
Well, first of all, in Norwegian, we only grow if it reduces our cost level. So that's our key element of growth. It has to reduce our cost level. And it, of course, has to be a profitability to it, not in the first 6 months, but of course in the longer run. As for long haul, we believe it's going to be a huge demand in long haul in the future. We believe we're setting ourselves up at the exactly right time. We've taken the right type of equipment, the Boeing 787. We're getting 6 of them so far. And it's a gap in the market for us. And we also believe that the market from Asia will increase tremendously over the next 10 to 15 years.
All right, so we have an example of AirAsia and AirAsia X, which has got 2 airlines. But if you ask Tony or Aslam, they'll both tell you they have been rigid in making sure that the 2 do not influence each other on the cost base. They're determined to ensure that as each grows, they don't be detrimental. How are you going to prevent the same thing happening?
Oh, we're going to set it up as 2 different companies, but commercially it's going to be one. It's going to be sold through the same platform, through the same website, but operational it's going to be 2 different animals. Definitely.
Interlining of baggage, of tickets, of frequent.
Oh, we're gonna send customers from our short haul network into our long haul network, but it's going to be 2 different operational companies. We're very clear about that, because if it's something we have respect for, it's the costs between different models.
I think you're a fundamentalist. I mean, you're doubting something that can be done, which is being proven today that it can be done.
All right, I'll tell you why, because I've been covering this industry for 15 years, and for 15 years I've been told that everything that you guys are now doing, ladies and gentlemen, are doing is an anathema. Everything you're now suggesting goes against the fundamental problems of the industry and will raise costs and eventually destroy the model. Caroline?
We're not going long haul.
Yet.
No. We're not going long haul. We're sticking to what we do really, really well. You know, we have done some what we'd see as outliers, which are interesting things to do and help us with winter sun, Jordan, Egypt, Morocco. But we are absolutely focused on short haul Europe. And that's where we will win. And we actually believe that there will be growth opportunities for us, but that does not need to mean that you have to grow your fleet very fast. So we're taking a very cautious approach to how we use the aircraft, because actually we can reallocate assets. I think you said, Thomas, we are being far more brutal about what routes work, and we're taking much earlier decisions about whether they are profitable or going to be profitable or not.
Does just out of interest, does the bundling, speedy boarding, a bag in the hold, and all those sort of, which I suspect most business travellers don't put the bag in the hold anyway, but
Depends where they're going. Yeah.
But does that actually add much to your cost base to bundle in the infrastructure cost?
The whole point about Flexi is you can carry that. The bundle is carried by the price of the fare, so the margin increase on that is fine. So we don't have to worry about that. So we don't like bundling, but we believe that it's an attractive offer because we've been told by business passengers that's what they want.
We did it 4 years ago. It works.
The debundling was a great idea of the low-cost industry to show the customer that these things cost a lot of money and that you are paying for the bags that somebody else is checking in. The bundling, what we do with our best price, is basically telling the business traveler in most cases, first of all, you don't have to opt in and opt out of the website. You have to put, that's a too long process. And we call it best price because the traffic rules of most companies demand the best price. They think it's the cheapest, but of course it's the 20 euros more for the food and the drink. Business travelers like that. They know exactly when they have to pay themselves.
We're going to keep going. I'm not sure we're going to do long haul, but you may come and fly.
We're not sure. Hang on, that was a bit. You've just. We're not sure.
I'm going to copy Caroline again. We're not going to fly long haul.
Thank you. Sorry, I am slightly trained to look for the nuances.
Sure, at least until Daniel does it. Then we'll so, but the point is, we're going to keep doing and adding things, and you might come to fly with Welling. You may get a hot towel and a newspaper and a back massage. But
a curtain, please. Where's the curtain?
Only if our unit costs continue going down as they have year on year. That's it.
Hang on. Okay, then we'll take some questions. You better start thinking of some questions.
But we're speaking about one of the most traditional industries in the world here. Since I started in the industry and in the low-cost area of it, everyone is saying, that's not possible, that's not possible, that's not possible, that's not possible, that's not possible. And even Germany, Germany a few years back was, no low-cost airlines in Germany. And then Germany comes along, EasyJet flies, Ryanair, Air Berlin grew up. So it's a lot of things that are possible if you challenge the established views. And in Europe today, we see a lot of established views, even for the low-cost industry.
I think some of the established truths are very clear. We need to have low cost, meaning high utilization of aircraft, pilots, and our resources. But there are a lot of things we can sell without adding to our cost.
Roses.
The ancillary revenue is definitely one of the areas where we can add value to the customer experience, right, without annoying him. For example, an on-time guarantee, where a customer is almost gambling on the fact that I get something out of it if I'm delayed. Great success for us. Selling hotel rooms, selling the seat reservation, and so on and so on. And we haven't definitely not reached a limit to that yet. And the question is, of course, how cooperative are airports? What can we do together with airports at the gate or taking passengers to the aircraft? It's a question of what can we sell on top of what we're selling as the bleak, empty seat and the transportation.
By the way, the on-time guarantee, years ago, the Trump shuttle, New York to Washington, used to offer 5,000 extra frequent flyer miles if the plane was 10 minutes late or 15 minutes late. And I remember on a round trip to Washington once, I got something like 20,000 because it was late both ways and there and back. Let's take a question from the audience, from our guests here. Yes, sir. Who are you and what would you like to ask?
Good morning. I'm one of the professors that Thomas mentioned earlier.
Oh.
And I see, we're talking here as if low costs are all the same. I see two distinct models, in Europe at least. We have EasyJet and Ryanair that are pan-European airlines with bases, crews, and staff based at different airports throughout Europe. The other airlines represented on the panel are essentially nationally based or regionally based. My question is, can they survive unless they do what EasyJet and Ryanair have been doing, which is become pan-European airlines? They're not pan-European airlines
Right.
at the moment, and I suspect their future is in doubt.
Excellent question. I was going to move on to this is the Europe to Europe argument that EasyJet and Ryanair have perfected. Europe to Europe, and I can't remember which one of your website is now. Which one of you does Amsterdam somewhere? One of you does is it?
We have a base
you
in
and, you don't know, but you do an Amsterdam non-Spanish flight, don't you? That doesn't even.
We're beginning to have an increasing number of routes that don't touch Spain. Yeah.
Right. So Europe to Europe, is that the way you're going to have to grow?
I think it's definitely one of the areas that we're going to grow because the Spanish market, it's already pretty collapsed. There's a lot of capacity. We've got a problem in Barcelona with an extra airline that shouldn't be there. And beyond that, the Spanish market itself just has too many seats. So yes, definitely, I think we're going to continue growing. And by the way, the answer to Rigas is, I agree, that is the way that we need to be looking at surviving.
German wings.
I think the question is pan-European mergers. Is that possible? I mean, I belong to a group that is already market leader in many European countries, but
Well, it's
different
bought them all,
brands,
basically.
but different brands with Swiss and Austria and British Midland, etc. I agree that size matters, and size is European.
Right, but for German wings to actually grow Europe to Europe, pan-European, is very difficult when your parent company owns half the other airlines in the rest of Europe.
Exactly, therefore we can be happily doing our German market. The German Wings name is maybe not the ideal brand name for a European expansion. I admire EasyJet's name there, yeah, that is a fantastic brand name. I don't agree so much with the Irish competitor, but that's a different story.
Right, but okay, yes, Norwegian.
Yeah, but I'm happy you said regional, Rigas, because we're a regional airline so far, because we operate of bases with cruise and home market in Norway, Sweden, Denmark, and Finland. So I wouldn't call us a national carrier. And Thomas, our brand name is Norwegian. We took Norwegian out in the Swedish market, in the Danish market, in the Finnish market. It's all about branding. It's all about telling a story, and it works very, very well for us in 4 very different home markets, I have to say. It's not Scandinavia, the Nordic countries,
All right,
it's
but
not
if
all the same.
if it
They're
work-
just as different as Netherlands and Germany.
But if it works so well there, when are you going to expand it into quote, Scandinavian Nordic countries?
Oh, we were in Poland for 3-4 years.
And what happened?
What happened there was the economic crisis.
Ah.
And what I believe
So
is
you're not
that
in Poland?
we are in Poland. We just shut down the operational base we had in Poland. We're flying to Poland.
Right, but you're not based in Poland.
No, we're not based there anymore because our cost level had sunk to such a level that it could compete from over other operational bases. And what I strongly believe in is to put the metal where it makes the most sense.
Sure,
not
so
what
you
the
couldn't
name
make
of the
money.
base
So
is.
you couldn't make money in Poland,
Oh, we're making money in Poland.
not with a base in Poland.
It made more sense to have base other places, which is something
A
we
yes or a no
we
will do.
Oh, we made money in Poland. We're making money in Poland.
Right. What about expanding further south? I mean, into the rest of Europe. If you're going to succeed, you've got to start surely emulating Caroline's model and actually having bases more and more across Europe. Yes, Caroline.
Well, yeah,
And
that is a very fundamental point about the fact that Ryanair doesn't actually have people based in those bases. Very important point here. Ryanair works out of Ireland. Everyone knows that, but I thought I'd better state it. We have local crew. We pay our taxes locally. 1. 2, there's just one other thing, which is there is a bit of a difference here between EasyJet and my fellow panelists, right? We will not layer in things that add complexity. It's really, really important, this, which is we would not be doing towels, we would not be doing anything extra that is a little nice to have, that is going to increase operational complexity. We are not at that end of the spectrum. We will do business passengers, but our business passengers want quick, speedy, efficient, get to their place. They don't want the hot towel. They don't want the posh food that they don't eat and make them feel sick. They don't want any of that, right? They don't want to arrive.
Sounds like Caroline's saying that you're
I'm
layering.
I'm not saying what they're doing is wrong. What I'm saying is for EasyJet, we are much more true to where we started, but we believe that what we do can be applied to business travelers of a certain sort. And of course, it's all about the yield.
Come on, this is religion. I mean, if you fill your trolley with a hot towel or with a bad sandwich, it really doesn't matter. I mean,
It means less sandwiches.
A trolley is a trolley. And if you have fresh sushi there or a
Costs.
bad
Food
triangle
poisoning.
sandwich, it's just a question of will you sell it or not sell it. And I'm quite sure that we sell more on board than you do.
I'm sure you do, but that means you have to have chill cabinets, and I bet your cost base is higher than ours.
Actually,
I
it's
flew,
not.
I flew on
Don't have
EasyJet last week. Excellent.
No, no.
On time, everything wonderful, but they had an oven in their aircraft, and I ate that.
Their hot baguette,
croque
hot
monsieur.
bacon rolls in the
thought-
morning.
I thought, I think
Very
we
popular.
agree on one thing. Why not giving the customer, if the customer gives me more money for a product without adding complexity? I give you an example. If you order food in advance on Germanwings, the information to the cabin crew comes with a regular flight report. When you close the flight, it just says X, Mr. So-and-so has bought food before. That is zero complexity. The list is created anyhow. It's the passenger list, the pill that has to be there on every flight.
Yeah,
So-
Richard, I was told by the Bible writer that we couldn't assign seats. Our flights would be late, and we could not turn around a 180 passenger aircraft in 25 minutes through one door. So when we started the airline, Click Air, 5 years ago, we followed the Bible, and we did free seating. And after running hundreds of tests, we realized that we could do it, and we could continue having a leading punctuality. Complexity is definitely one of the things that can drag you and can take costs out of control. But if you deal with the complex items and you're able to solve them and actually deliver performance, then you're going to continue outperforming your peers.
All right, let me ask, is there another question that we want to ask? Right? No? Yeah. Yes, sir. Your question, shout.
Shout, I will shout.
Ivo from Amsterdam.
From Amsterdam Airport. I have two questions, or one question actually.
Good.
Oh, thank you. There are two business models that have been quite struggling in the last few years. One is, of course, the legacy carriers into Europe, and the other one is the traditional travel trade. I was wondering how the CEOs of the locals see opportunities there in those two business areas.
In what sense? I don't.
The European legacy carriers, so the European side, I mean, the legacy carriers are quite good doing intercontinental, but they're struggling, all of them, on the business model within Europe, the short-haul flights. The second one is that you see the travel trade, the traditional one, which are struggling in Europe as well. So I was wondering if the low-cost carriers see any opportunity there.
I think we have all shown that we are taking advantage of the first aspect you're mentioning, which is the weakness, increasing weakness, and particularly high cost of legacy carriers in the short haul. We're all taking advantage of this.
Well, not that. Your raison d'etre is the legacy carrier's high cost.
No, not necessarily. We're also stimulating a bunch of traffic which wasn't there before, or was traveling by bus, or was just not traveling. We have both roles.
All right.
This is important. And on the trade, I think that the trade is very important, particularly if you want to capture those business passengers, so you have to chase it.
Let me ask you, what do you do for the frequent flyer? All right, here I will put my hand up. The person who wants to be recognized, the person who wants something for nothing, the person who likes to sit at the front of the curtain. What do you do for them besides say good morning?
Well, look, we haven't got a frequent flyer program and a loyalty program, and if we can find an EasyJet way of doing it, we will do it. That means simple, not a load of cost. They are notoriously expensive, usually. We have an orange card that you can buy, and that means you get speedy boarding on any flight that you have anywhere in our network. And orange card holders are people we have a database of, and we often email them and we give them some kind of early alerts and stuff like that. But we are really at the very beginning of even thinking about what we can do with that database.
But you accept that this is something that
I accept that it is cheaper to keep lifetime loyalty. I mean, what you want to do is lifetime loyalty. You want people to keep coming back to you rather than acquiring new passengers every time you advertise. I accept that, but we have to find a way of doing that that is low cost. And no one's done that yet.
You're well and truly up to your ears in frequent flyer nonsense.
Like that, 2 programs. I've got two.
Yeah, and not
loyalty
only that,
systems.
you've got your own. You interface with Iberia
With
and,
Oneworld.
and with OneWorld, and one only waits for the day when you're going to become a member of OneWorld.
I couldn't comment on that, but you know, if I fly every week to Madrid or to Paris or Brussels or Milan or Rome or London, and I'm flying more or less the same airline because I like it or the prices are right, the schedules are right, I need to be recognized.
Why?
Why?
If the price is right, and all my CFO cares about is that I haven't overpaid for the price.
Because there's going to be a time when the price is not right. And then my preference will be very clear. I'd rather fly something else by a small differential price or even by the same price with someone else who will recognize me.
We have a frequent flyer program called
Whoa.
Norwegian Rewards. It has one employee, only one employee. It's fully digital. The customer takes care of it totally by his or himself. And I believe it's also something with segmenting, because we are in much stronger contact with these customers than with other customers, so it saves us a lot of money on marketing costs.
We agree. We have Boomerang, hope you remember. The reason why we have it, first of all, you can run it low cost. I don't think that we have one, even more than one, because it's fully automated. It's basically, the customer likes it. The customer who flies a lot knows that flying is not always fun, because when you do on a short haul flight at 6:45 in the morning to go to your job or to see your clients, etc., the award is the family that flies to Venice. It's the same on long haul, it's exactly the same. Redemption is somewhere where you
But you see, if your price is low enough for that holiday to Venice, then the customer doesn't give a whatever about the price.
But you make money with the Boomerangs of this world, because you have loyalty partners and they pay you a lot
Complexity.
of money. They pay you a lot of money so that people can earn your miles to burn them on your airline. And
Look.
it is when you look at the big ones in the world, and we are small, we are really small, you make wonderful money with it. Wonderful.
Look,
Actually, I think the loyalty program is a source of revenue. When you look at Qantas or at Air Canada, I think Air Canada makes more money on the revenue program than it makes on its flights. And actually, it's plain stupid not to have a loyalty program which is widely spread when you see how Air Canada is doing it. I think the legacy carriers are alive and doing quite well, actually, despite the much higher ticket prices. Particularly, for example, in Scandinavia, when you look at SAS compared to Norwegian, because of the loyalty programs. And you know, you can make a lot of money on the loyalty program. The largest customer of Air Canada is its loyalty program.
Right, and it's the same, I mean, American and United all
We
make
sign-
gazillions
we-
on their on Mileage Plus and Advantage.
Because we are a dwarf, so we are big in Latvia, but not really a big airline. But
Right.
we sign up a partner to our loyalty program per day, and we already cover basically all the cost of our loyalty program by the partners. We expect in the future to make actually substantially money on this.
All right, final thoughts as we come to the end. Is the low-cost industry, and I hate to use that phrase, but it is just an easy abbreviation, basically breaking down to EasyJet/Ryanair and the rest of you? And by that...
I don't like that bucket.
No, I didn't think you would, but you know what I mean. Lower cost, pan-European, not affiliated to necessarily a larger airline group. I accept Norwegian isn't. But in terms of Vueling and in terms of Germanwings and the rest of you, you're running quasi-larger groups, businesses. Yes, sir. Caroline.
Well, I think that's very simplistic, actually, because I think that, you know, Ryanair is at one end of a spectrum. EasyJet, as you've heard today, it sticks to many principles it believes is right to run the low-cost base. Now, we have the second low-cost base of any other airline other than Ryanair. We will never be able to compete with them because of them not being based in country. But it does not mean that we will not look at loyalty program if we can do it in a really cost-effective, revenue-enhancing way. It does, we will stick to our principles, but we will do anything where it grows our RPS, because we have a top-line strategy. So it's contain and reduce cost base wherever possible, but it is about
All right.
top line growth, right? So we will look at all of that. We're not as rigid, I don't think, as the ultra low cost model.
All
So
right.
I think it's a bit simplistic to go them and them, because I think there's lots of different models in between.
I think I need to take the 5-10 year view on this. If Europe is a country where we're, as a region, where we're running out of new markets that can be stimulated, it means that more of us are going to be fighting over the same passenger. And that means that we're going to have to do more things. That means that our models are going to continue evolving, so long as we're keeping the base rules in mind at all times whilst we are making that product better. Frankly, everyone is going to be shifting, including Ryanair, in terms of product and service. Everyone. Because you're going to be chasing the same type of people.
Well, I believe that the flying from forest to forest will become more difficult because of the taxes and the high fuel costs. So everybody, I agree, moves a little bit more to the center. The legacies already move. When you look at their pricing systems, they have copied the low-cost model in many cases. At the end of the day, it will become which airports are sufficient for point-to-point flying, because there are wonderful airports that can hub and spoke, but are a disaster for point-to-point. Which airports have their costs under control so that you can have a base and have 15 aircraft there or more. And I agree, the brand at the end of the day is important. It lowers your cost when you can advertise in Latvia the same as in Bulgaria. But we will speak about the ability to fly point to point. And that will be the challenge for the next years.
The challenge is that. And finally, a question to each of you, starting at that with you, Bertolt. Over the next 12 months, as economies slow down, with the possibility of complete and utter turmoil, more turmoil and devastation across the Eurozone, what do you expect to happen? Not in the Eurozone, I hasten to add, in the industry?
Actually, I still think that the industry is going to grow, despite the problems in the Eurozone. And actually, I think particularly the segment of low-cost airlines is going to grow. First of all, there are still unexploited markets, and second, there is still to take from others.
I think that economic crisis in the airline world always is immediately reflected in travel routes and companies. So business class and premium flights are cut at the company, so that's usually good for low-cost carriers which don't have an official business class. But if the travel taxes implemented go up and are implemented in more countries, it's a big danger to the entire system.
Yeah, I agree with Thomas there. What we see in downturns is that low-cost airlines is coping much better to it than traditional airlines because of the flexibility in the organization and, of course, the lower cost base and the tendency among large businesses to move down and be more price-focused. I believe it's going to be some rough years ahead, but I think the low-cost industry will cope best with it.
And when are you going to fly your first long haul?
Oh, we haven't gone public with where we're going to fly it, but it's a lot of interesting market we're looking at.
Can I sell me a seat? Well, give me a seat.
Lower margins, but still
Profitable.
leading margins within our group, our peer group. So we'll continue leading in terms of margin across the airline industry, but we are suffering from fuel and lower demand across Europe. If it continues like that, we'll not be able to realize as high margins as I'd like to.
And grow the airline?
Slowly, yes.
Slowly. Caroline, last word.
So I think despite the external challenges, the strong will get stronger, weak will get weaker, because I think it is going to be a very tough economic environment. I think, without repeating what you've both said, low costs are in a really good position. I think EasyJet is best positioned, actually, to take advantage of opportunity and to really manage its way successfully.
Best position.
I think it's very strongly, I think it's best positioned to strongly manage
I
its
won't
way.
invite the others to comment on that.
Sorry, but I do.
They need a new shareholder and then everything is fine.
Are you offering?
We're looking for shareholders. Ladies and gentlemen, I've had this debate numerous times, but I can honestly say never at the most challenging times as it is for this particular industry with this particular panel. Many thanks indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, our panel.